course, the number one change that has been in the news is that you can decline or block apps altogether for tracking you.
Yep.
And this is a big feature. Now, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to have a future video coming up this week on the channel. I actually went and I did a whole thing on Safari and how to use it, but I also talked about what websites track you and how you can see that. Pretty big deal on how much stuff is tracked that is blocked from Apple now. But Frank, you wanted to talk about privacy because you've been a big component of it. You had a couple articles you wanted to discuss about it, but you also have your own thoughts.
Yeah. Well, based on a lot of the articles that are out, based on 14.5, they talk about just what you were saying, how when you're in the App Store, each app has to tell you what it tracks and how it tracks it. And Apple is using this as a big selling feature. And there was a big thing with Facebook where they're like that and they don't want to do that. And because you have Instagram, you have their Facebook Messenger service.
Mm-hmm.
They all track you in different ways and feed it back to Facebook, and they turn around and they sell it. And it's a massive, massive market. And there's an app that believe this or not, but Mark Zuckerberg used to use. It's called Signal.
Yep, and he's on there, isn't he?
Yeah, and that app guarantees end-to-end encryption and
like iMessage, by the
private.
way.
Yeah. Now, Apple's own messaging service is end-to-end encryption, and so privacy is a big thing, and people need to know that there are options out there. And like you were mentioning, it changing the icons, and you can have whatever email you want as your default. And I don't know I don't quite understand why people would want to complicate their lives and have use a Gmail app and the Apple map when you can have the Apple Mail connected to a Gmail account and an iCloud account and a Verizon account and pretty much any other account. So you could have multiple accounts going to the one app, and you have simplicity. So I don't understand why people want to have a Gmail app for their mail and a Verizon one or whatever.
I mean, people use, like, some people don't use mail clients. You got to think about it. If you had a computer, especially like my parents, they just go on their mail on the web browser. They don't use a mail client.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're familiar with, then I could see why they would want to use a Gmail app if they're familiar with it. We're just familiar with Apple because we've been around it for so long that us changing would be hard. But honestly, Gmail's mail is not that hard to figure out. Honestly, in fact, there's a lot of, I think, plus side to it sometimes than using Apple Mail, especially when I was in a business setting with it. I think it definitely overpowers Apple without a doubt.
Well,
but as far as like the mail client goes, or using, like, it's very, very easy because it's like one of the default things. If you hit the share button and it's right there, I'm sure Apple changes that when you decide that a third party browser would be better for you. But I don't see most people I see use the mail app. They don't really steer away from it.
Well,
you definitely can't go.
We used to use Outlook. I mean, Outlook was, in the corporate world, Outlook was the go-to email. But I did not have a problem going to the Apple Mail app. I like to try to keep things as simple as possible. I don't like to have multiple apps for doing the same thing.
Right.
So, and the other app that Facebook owns is WhatsApp or WhatsApp or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so you have multiple apps that people think are independent, and they're not. They're collecting all that data and feeding it back to Facebook, and Facebook is a billion-dollar business selling your information, selling information about you. But again, it's, some people that's a concern, some people it's not.
I'm
So
going to give you a great example right now. So right now, one of the articles that we're talking about with Signal is from Forbes.com. Guess how
yes.
many trackers right now are on Forbes.com trying to track me that have been blocked? Think about it.
No,
I'll tell
I'll
you right
say
now, it's not more than 50. So I'll tell you that
okay.
just to give you
All
the
right.
number a little lower.
All right. So let's say 35.
45 was tracking right now on Forbes.com. That's crazy.
Yeah.
45 sites were trying to grab my information and go across and try to sell myself. Now I go to CNET.com, which is another article. How many do you think are tracking me there?
On CNET, I bet you it's close to 80.
Well, I can tell you, none of them are over 50 from what I see. There's
Okay.
not that
All
many
right.
out there,
So then
but
maybe
43.
40.
43.
Wow.
How many do you think are tracking on Apple.com? Trick question.
Zero? Zero?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It's not actually.
Oh, okay.
There's one.
All right.
PayPal.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now that could be kind of understandable because you're ordering stuff from there.
Right.
But
Right.
remember, PayPal is sort of a social media platform too, in a way, especially that they own what's that one that everyone loves, Venmo.
Yeah.
So
Venmo. Yeah.
so reality is look at that. Apple.com, one website tracked me, which has to do with purchasing, and look at that, 45, 43 sites are tracking us on our Safari browser, which is why I love the blockage of this. And
Yeah.
this is going to continue. In fact, I'll even go one further. I'm going to go on Facebook.com right now for privacy. Let's find out how many sites are tracking me on this website. So I'm going to turn it on right now. Here we go. All right. I am now on Facebook.com. Interesting. Right now, only one is preventing from profiling me.
Huh.
Very interesting. So I thought that's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Now,
So
one of the Facebook, I just they're I don't think they're a very ethical company, but
mhm.
that's my personal opinion. Okay, I don't want to sway anybody, but in the article in Forbes and Signal, they Signal was going to use advertising on Instagram, and when they put the advertising up through their account, believe it or not, it was rejected because of some of the wording that they used in there, and so would not allow them to do exactly what Facebook does, which I find kind of ironic,
It is ironic.
um, you know, which is just really, really strange. So,
Like
Facebook,
honestly, who would really want, you know, who would really want to do that anyway? Like who want people to be tracked? Like and there are people that like the idea of that. They really
yeah,
are. And
yeah,
but why but then people all the time always say, "Well, why does this site know what I like?" It's just
right,
like and then you buy it,
yeah,
and then you get ripped off, especially if you get one of those like really stupid companies that are not like real.
yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, my point here with Facebook is if you're going to allow all companies to use your tracking, then allow them.
mhm.
You can't, in my mind anyway, it's either all or nothing.
Right.
And when you turn around and stop somebody from doing an advertisement that you could do, you need to read the article because it's pretty interesting. To me, that's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me
Mhm.
because it's exactly what you're doing. And they want to stop another company from doing that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Apple gives you the right on their devices to know what you want to be tracked, what you're going to be doing. In fact, now they forced every app to do something called app privacy, which means that they now have to publicly announce what data is used to track you and what data is linked to you. So every app on the App Store had to put that on there. So when next time you go to an app and you scroll down, look at
yeah,
what they are tracking you on and see if you feel comfortable with it. But of course, you can block it now with the new 14.5 update.
yeah. Here, I got a quote from that article that if folks are interested, they should read it. It says, now this is Signal talking. We wanted to use Instagram ads to highlight how ad tech invades your privacy. Instead, Facebook shut our account down. I have reached out to Facebook, and the company is now reviewing the blog post and proposed ads. I will update you with any comments that they receive. So the point here is Facebook shut this ad down for the very thing that Facebook does, which is kind of ironic, I think. But that's Zuckerberg.
I mean, hell, I mean, Donald Trump. They just made a decision that they're not letting Trump back on their platform anymore. So he has to create his own platform.
Yep.
They decide. People decide on, what you can be and what you cannot. Now, here's the thing. Facebook for me is about sharing to my family and friends what's going on in my life, and that is what I have it for. But I also run a business, and we also have a podcast, and we have to have a Facebook account. We have to have it because it's free advertising.
Right.
At the end of the day, they provide a free platform for us to showcase, I mean, honestly, your family knows more about what you do now than ever because you share that stuff and people want to know, and that's the beauty of it. It really is.
Well,
but there's the downside of what these companies do with stuff that you are giving them and what's happening with your data. Yeah. And now we're getting to the point where the government's finally going to say something about it and do something, and perhaps
they're not
stop
going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. No.
I'm looking at the positive, Frank.
I think that's just rhetoric.
Okay.
But we'll see. I could be wrong. Hopefully, if I am, I am. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frank, this is our ending of our episode this week. I want to thank you again for coming on. Please enjoy all of the videos that we have on especially our how-to stuff. Your numbers one, it's picking up. People like it. 100% satisfaction on our pages one, which is our most popular one. 97% out of 300 votes. That just tells me people really like the content. So that's why I want to do more of training, because obviously that is probably the strongest, I would say, asset that we have from our experiences, other than just talking to you guys here. So check out our YouTube channel, and please go subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate everyone reaching out, looking at it, enjoying the content. Someone wanted me to make a whole cookbook in Pages and tell me how to do it.
That sounds good.
In fact, we better. There's the iBooks publisher, which does all that, so you could do it in there.
Well, you could. Well, you write in Pages. You can publish it to iBooks and put it out on.
You can make a PDF. Store. You can put it in the App Store. You can do a PDF. You can just export it as a PDF.
Oh, you know what else is happening, man? You got Apple and Epic back in the news again.
Oh yeah, I didn't really want to talk much about it, but what do you remember? I don't remember on the top of my head, but what is going on?
Well, their CEO testified, and Tim Cook and a couple of the others are scheduled to testify. Hasn't really made any news yet, but I'm sure once Tim Cook and the others testify, they're still rehashing the same old thing, So everything that we've talked about before, but I'll keep you posted because I'm interested in that too.
Mm-hmm. I think this will take a while to figure out, but I still think at the end of the day, Apple's winning that case. I can't imagine.
Well,
but I'm really curious how Epic's revenue has been impacted.
Well, I don't think it really has, but to me, the App Store is a store, and whether you're in a brick and mortar store or an Amazon, it doesn't matter. If you sell something, your purchase goes through that store, whether you use a Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, whatever, right? And this is no different. Now, the fact that they have in-app purchases, that has to go through the store again. Oh, well, that's the agreement you signed.
Mm-hmm. But think of it too, like people choose to take cash only. They choose to take credit cards. They choose not to take an Amex card. You know, like you think of like the situation like that. Now, me as a user, it's annoying, but some places that are just cash only. How annoying is that? To the point.
Yeah. But I mean, but you know that establishment is that way. So when you
sometimes you don't.
Cash,
that sometimes you don't.
Well, that's why they make ATMs, right?
Yeah, that's right, and that's why they make more money on that probably doing the ATM because they rather pay a fee on an ATM than to pay for them to pay the 2% or 3% on every transaction. There's an ice cream place that's very popular that does that, and they have signs all over saying cash only. But we know that going there. But the first time I went, I was annoyed. Luckily enough, the ice cream's good, so it turns you around.
From a IRS perspective, cash businesses are very easy to not necessarily report all sales as opposed to credit cards.
Oh, there you go. See, fun facts there by Frank, everybody. We want to thank you very much for joining us for the Think Different podcast. Of course, we love to be here every other week here on our Fridays. Check us out. And remember to go on our YouTube channel and check out some of the how-to videos that we've created on Pages Numbers and soon my Safari one, as well as how to use Finder. Check it out, guys. I am Will TLD. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the Think Different podcast. And I love every single one of you.
Take care, Will.